Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 60 of the All in Football Fantasy Premier League Show podcast. I'm your host, the FPL guru, Alex Rex, and joining me today are my usual suspects of Barry Stokes and Scott Williams. Scott, good to have you back. How are you doing?
Yeah, it's good to be allowed back. I know you've tried to cut me off this podcast as much as you can, YouTube.
That was our intention, but you just kept coming back, didn't you?
On.
Baz, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm glad my argumentative other showman's here as well. So
Other showman. I like that. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Don't forget to follow us on our socials, guys. All Pod, All P, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I didn't get that many questions in this week, so I'm having to make a lot of this up myself of what I think you guys want me to talk about. But if you want me to talk about some certain topics, get some questions. Get some questions in, because I only had a few questions come in. So it'd be great to have you guys to contribute to that. It makes my life a hell of a lot easier of knowing what to talk about as well. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and subscribe where you get your podcast from as well. So let's get straight into it and review game week 30. And let's do it from a podcast league perspective, first of all, and talk about our manager of the week. And as much as you messaged me, Cully, saying you couldn't wait for your shout out, unfortunately, you got beat by Mr. Paddy Madden. Game week ranked 97,000 out of 11.3 million managers. So well done, Paddy. Pope in goal with his penalty saved from Ivan Toney. The first penalty Ivan Toney's missed in like 6 years or something. 5 years, 6 years, 20-something attempts. Pope in goal, 11 points. Me, Trippier and White, terrible defence. 3 points from 3 defenders in total. But Martinelli with 13, Rashford, McAllister, and De Bruyne. McAllister potentially was a bit unlucky to get a goal disallowed, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Tony, Kane, and you went for Haaland, captain. Philip Billings sat on your bench with 11 points. So well done to Paddy Madden. The league is nice and close, really. David Byrne had a good week. 7 points clawed back on him by Barry Stokes. So it's all very tight. 30 points in it at the top. And then very congested beneath, for 12 points back, Cully Matheru. 1 point further back is Jeff Belcher. And then we've got Dan Clark, Sandy Punjan, and even Gavin Webb and Dimple, who are all within reach this very moment in time. And Jack Alcroft, let's not forget, still has his wild card to play. Now let's get straight into talking about pretty mad game week of football, and we'll go through it. Not so much game by game, but we'll do a bit of game by game for a couple of these clubs, because we do want to talk about Liverpool and Crystal Palace in particular this week. Scott, did you enjoy the Liverpool-Arsenal game?
The Liverpool-Arsenal game was a cracker, wasn't it? I think it's one of those games that you look at every season and you know it's going to be a good game, especially the way Arsenal, well, I say the way they're playing at the minute, they've always been a decent team to watch, even when it was the banter era. Wasn't there? They've always been a good attacking, flowing football team. And Liverpool at home, they're just a different team to Liverpool away. I actually fancied Liverpool to win that. I'd agreed with Carragher. I just thought that Liverpool crowd would carry them to a win. But again, Arsenal surprising a lot of clubs, a lot of people rather this season. Just a fantastic game. It's a contrast to when you see maybe like a Chelsea, Liverpool, something like that. Like, it's going to be a bit of a ball draw. Yeah, it was brilliant. It was a great advert for football. I just hate Andy Robertson.
let's talk about that, because Konstantin Hatzidakis, a name that I'd have never heard of before. he got involved with Andy Robertson at halftime. What did you make of that incident?
My first thought was this guy could be a model, because wow, he's hench and a beautiful man.
Passes the eye test, does he, Scott?
He certainly does, mate. I think there's going to be a few more women going to his games, and he's allowed back on anyway, and men. Anyway, I can't believe that he's been, banned. It's literally a case of someone running up to you, and he honestly shrugged Andy Robertson's arm away to tell him to get off him. There's no chance he's gone to elbow him or anything like that. I think it's ridiculous that he's been banned at all. I think, if anything, the yellow card for Robinson is definitely justified, and then we just move on. I think it's absolutely sickening that he's been banned for that. I think Robbo is... do you know what? Robbo's one of those players that I guess if they played for you, or if you were Scottish, 100%. You would love him.
100%.
But I hate him. I think he's whiny. He just annoys me as a human being.
Absolutely, we've all got them. I've got Bruno Fernandes, Man United. Everyone hates Bruno Fernandes unless you're a Man United fan. Yeah. So it's that sort of player, isn't it? Baz, what was your take on the incident?
I think if it was a player, I think it'd be exactly the same. It'd have got banned. It's one of them with all the cameras out there. You just can't run the risk of doing the people's elbow out. It's one of them. It's like just go no, just hand out no, not aggressively. Just go like away like that. Not one of them. It just looks bad.
The emotion of the situation, I think, got to just the emotion in the stadium and everything. And I know it's been pinpointed quite a few times, but the Xhaka Trent facing off against each other moment. I know it's been pinpointed a few times as the moment that the crowd got up, but it was. I feel like then almost like the linesman or the assistant referee, like he did raise his elbow higher than what he would normally have, what you would normally do. But he did shrug him off, but he almost like shrugged him off really aggressively, and he's quite a tall bloke.
Yeah.
So
it's quite similar when you're holding the ball up. You obviously get your arms back. It was kind of similar to that, but
but Robertson's a very small man as well.
Yeah.
So actually, if it was like, an average sized male, it wouldn't have got anywhere near his face.
I think that's the other thing as well. It was his throat that he got elbowed in. He said it was his throat. I mean, and then you're looking at height differences and whatever. I think it's one of those incidents where I think to appease everybody, probably maybe give the assistant referee a week off or something. Yeah. It's just. And then Robertson. But what is with this with squaring up to referees at the moment? Why is this?
It's the lack of respect in football. It's nothing new, is it? Like we always say,
but isn't the physical contact on the referees? Well, Bruno's push, Mitrovic's arm back, now Robertson grabbing a ref. I've not known it to be physical before. I've known it to be intimidating in face, but do you not think it's gone to another level with this recently?
Yeah, but it's always good, isn't it? When you don't put things in place like they say every season, the crowding round refs are going to stop it. You see it every game, every single game, and it winds me up no end. It always has, and it does on every level. 5-a-side when I play on a Thursday, it winds me up when people have a go at ref. The ref's not going to change their mind. Just shut up and get on with it. Like, the ref's not going to change his mind. The AR might. So get out the ref's ear and just leave it at that. I think we forget how much grief refs and especially linesmen get at football games. You don't hear it on TV, but if you go to a live football game, it's sickening sometimes what is said to like linesmen and that. And I think we forget sometimes that they are human beings. But yeah, I agree, Alex. And, more needs to be done. Look at rugby. We've always said, haven't we? Look at rugby. The respect is there from the grassroots, from the first time them lads play rugby or girls play rugby. The respect is there. It's not for football. They see all these prima donnas, your Bruno Fernandes and that, giving all this crap. And it just needs to change from the lower levels right up.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Baz, anything to add on that before we talk a little bit more about the assets? No. Well, let's talk about the players within the game and how they relate to FPL. I think we've kind of got a start at the end of that match with. I mean, we've all been. I mean, Scott and I have both been vocal about how lucky Aaron Ramsdale was at the beginning of last season to get signed for Arsenal. Fair play to him for those couple of saves at the end. I mean, Darwin Núñez is 1-on-1. I think I could have saved that. The guy can't finish for anything at the moment. It's ridiculous. The Kanate, I don't know how he's not put that ball over the line, but still an amazing save. But that one from the deflection from Salah was something special, wasn't it? Just another that was another level. That could win in the league. That save.
Yeah, it's all about footwork on that one because it knows what Salah's going to do. And it did it in first half, and it moved across slightly to get to the save, but Salah didn't put it more in the corner. Whereas this one, it was literally the deflection took it even more in the corner, and it was just a phenomenal save.
I got like goosebumps. It was that good. Like when you saw there was a deflection, I was like, "Oh my god, what a save that is!" And that's a point towards the title. I still think he's probably the 7th or 8th best goalkeeper in the league. Can't lie. But he's definitely gone up in my estimations this season. Scott, anything to say?
Yeah, what I would say is that I wouldn't disagree with anything what you two have just said there. But one thing Ramsdale gives that I think this Arsenal team need to get the league title is that bit of housery, that little bit of bite at the back that he gives. Like, you saw him when he say, Salah missed a penalty, he was giving him some, and he gives that vocalness at the back that sometimes they need, and he really adds something. So great saves as well.
When he stepped up and sort of got in Salah's face after he missed the pen, I was like, that's just embarrassing, but it's also quite shithousery, isn't it? I agree.
It's like Keown and Brad Nistelrooy, wasn't it?
Yeah, when he bangs him on the back of the head and stuff. I get it. But Arsenal have always been accused of being too nice, haven't they? So it does make sense.
Apart from that Keown incident.
Of course, yeah. As if they were a crossbar away from not being unbeaten that season. It's still mental, isn't it? The Invincibles had the penalty Man United, Old Trafford, Van Nistelrooy don't miss either, and obviously he does hit the crossbar, didn't he? From a perspective of fantasy football, the Martinelli just continues to deliver in terms of returns. It helps when he's against Trent, who's playing in midfield in a position that's quite new and one of the biggest games. And then it all felt a little bit weird to me. That, don't get me wrong, I don't think the tactical decision is wrong in the future for Liverpool, but doing it in such a big game against the best team in the league was pretty mad, really. But Martinelli seems to do really well, and we just can't trust Arsenal's defence. So I think one of the reasons as well why this was such a good game, by the way, since the World Cup in terms of expected goals conceded, Arsenal are 13th in the league and Liverpool are 16th in the league for expected goals conceded since the World Cup. Pretty crazy. Arsenal have got the equal 8th worst defence in the league. They've conceded 18 goals in 16 games. They've only kept 5 clean sheets, whereas Liverpool have kept 7 clean sheets in 15 games. So they keep a clean sheet half the time, but when they don't keep a clean sheet, they tend to concede 4 or 2. It's not. Whereas Arsenal drip feed 1 goal in.
What I would say is, if Arsenal go ahead and win the league, they should be loved just for the way they've done it. Because, like you've just said there, they've done it in a really exciting way. We've had teams in the past. I maybe think of a couple of Mourinho Chelsea teams, which has been built on a really solid, unbelievable defense that conceded like 13 goals or something ridiculous. Yeah. Where sometimes you're like, oh, Chelsea are playing at home to someone. Whereas you always want to tune in and watch Arsenal this season. And I think that's just a credit to Arteta and all them Arsenal players and the way they've gone around doing it. It's one of those where if they win the league, you'd be wanting to watch Premier League years, definitely.
Oh, well, and they've been the best attack, 39 goals scored in 16 games. So they've been eclipsed City, and then Brighton have obviously been right up there, which has been great this season. These two are miles ahead. One thing I will say about Arsenal, just in terms of the expected stats, and what we tend to find is these things eventually reach their level. Their expected goals, don't get me wrong, it's 3rd in the league, but they are outperforming it by a good margin, 33%. They are overperforming quite significantly on their expected goals number. And in terms of expected goals conceded as well, they've conceded 18 goals with expected goals conceded of nearly 23. So it feels like in terms of the statistics, now I know for some, it's not the game's not played on statistics, but it feels a little bit like they're walking a tightrope, which is again one of the reasons why Man City are seen as the team that are probably they've been here before. They're performing on a level that you'd expect them to. Arsenal almost feel like they're overperforming. And to back that up again, City's expected goals is 34.16 since the World Cup, and they've scored 35. So they're pretty much bang on the numbers. And expected goals conceded is 10. They have actually conceded 13. So they've actually been underperforming on their goals conceded. So it's where do you see very briefly, as we talked about this quite a few times, where do you see the title race at the moment, Baz? Who's your favourite?
I still keep saying City. They're on a formidable run at the moment, and they obviously swept Bayern aside quite comfortable as well. So that's obviously throws in their favour as well. And they're just scoring goals for fun. Yeah, they're a bit leaky in the back. And yes, Arsenal were scoring goals for fun. But the fact is, it's the Haaland factor. And then if Haaland's not playing, Alvarez is chipping in with goals, and you've got De Bruyne and Mahrez and Grealish obviously creating stuff. So I just can't, I've said it. I said Man City would win league, and that I'm sticking by it. I still think, even with what's happening at the moment, with obviously games in hand and how many points clear they are, I still think City's going to do it.
I don't know. I'm still in the Arsenal camp even after that weekend, I've got to say. And you were in the Arsenal camp, Scott. And anything changed after the weekend?
No, I think Arsenal will do it, but I mean, I think West Ham away is going to be tricky. You know, a bit of a derby that, and then obviously the big game away at Man City.
Some massive games, and they're coming up. Like there'll still be twists and turns, like we say every time, won't they?
And it's not like this. It's not like the Liverpool Man City season where it went to 100 points into whatever. It's not like that. Man City and Arsenal both showing they're vulnerable this season to drop points. So it's not like, if Arsenal lose one game, it's over. It's not. There's, like you said, there's going to be more twists and turns.
With the fixtures as well, looking and moving forward, I mean, last night couldn't have worked out more perfectly for Man City. They've basically already won the tie, and they've got Leicester at home coming up. So Haaland can easily start that game. Then they've got Bayern away. If they need to rest him, they can do. They can have him on the bench in case things go pear-shaped. It's very. They can make his minutes last. They can even give him 30, 40, 50, 60 minutes against Sheffield United in the Cup if they wanted to. It's that 3-0 win last night is so big for the City season, of the congestion of the fixtures that are coming up right now, because Manchester City and Manchester United are the teams that, unless obviously if Rashford's injured, I can't see us being severe over two legs, even though they aren't doing very well this year, but our goals aren't anywhere else, but we'll talk about that later. But we've every midweek is taken for Man City. So the fact that they can ease into the big Arsenal game in game week 33, managing the minutes of their best player who's potentially a little bit injured, I think is really key. The other point for Man City assets is that Grealish played with Bernardo Silva again. This idea that Mahrez is their Champions League player is just not happening this season. It's not right. Bernardo and Grealish seem to be playing every week, so Mahrez potentially is as an asset moving forward for City in the league. But I think you can look really too much further past Grealish, Haaland, and then potentially Stones or a Diaz at the back. Arsenal, I won't be looking at selling any of their defenders this week, especially if you haven't got a free hit left, because they've got West Ham and Southampton. Then Man City, Chelsea, Newcastle and Brighton, 4 very tough games. I won't be having Zinchenko, I don't think, at that point, but I will be keeping hold of my attacking assets for Arsenal for that period of time. Let's talk about Liverpool, shall we? Because Liverpool have got the best fixture run over the next 4 weeks. They've got Leeds away, Forest at home, West Ham away, and then double game week, both at home, Spurs and Fulham. They've arguably got the best fixture run for the rest of the season going forward. We need to talk about their assets, and we need to talk about who to invest in, because we know what they can do, and we know what they can deliver. Baz, Liverpool assets, where do you start?
Exactly, it's one of them. It's too erratic. Like, obviously in the game they were like trying to play front back, and it just looked very uncomfortable. Like they never played football together it was like first game of season, like pre-season. They were just trying new different things, and it wasn't working, and it just looked so uncomfortable. But if you had to pick one of them, it's obviously Salah. He scored in last 4 or 5 games or something like that consecutive. So yeah, you've got to pick Salah. But then defensively, as you said about clean sheets, you probably pick Robbo and Trent. Alisson maybe as a goalkeeper. Yeah, I think that's it, really, to be honest, for me.
Since the World Cup, their points per 90 in terms of defenders, Van Dijk's been the best out of I think Van Dijk's been best out of 3 of them. It's close between him and Trent anyway, of who've been the best in terms of the points gathering. They've both outperformed Robbo. Scott, where would you start with Liverpool assets?
Yeah, I'd love to disagree with Baz. It's one of my favourite things to do, but I can't. It's like I'm looking at them fixtures. Monday night at Ellen Road. I don't know if it's Leeds bias because I live in the city, but They concede in that game, so I'm not looking at the defense. I think Leeds win that game. I really do. And then they've got West Ham away. Looking like they're getting back to somewhere half decent. I know they got thrashed every week, but they're bouncing back a little bit. Spurs at home, Spurs out Spurs, but Harry Kane can score at any point. Son got a Wildy, and then obviously Brentford at home, which they've been looking all right this season. Again, I won't be looking at defensive assets. Salah for me is too expensive. I'd rather have a KDB in there, spend a bit more money on maybe a Grealish. No one's really jumping out, and then you've got the rotation risk of the other jabronis. So I don't think I'd get anyone in.
It's really difficult, isn't it? Because they have the best fixture on Liverpool. Like, simple. We know the potential that they have as a team as well. And Mo Salah, for an example, let me just get this up in terms of numbers. So Mo Salah has only been outperformed since the World Cup by Matoma, March, Haaland, Watkins, Kane, Saka, Martinelli and Rashford. The obvious. So he's performing really well in terms of his numbers. He's got 4 home games in the next 6. Liverpool are at home. At home are a different team as they are away, as we've obviously just seen at the weekend. It's just his price tag, isn't it? Like, if you could afford,
is there something where you can see like goals per million or points per million? Is that a thing?
It is a thing. I don't know if I can do this on this here, but
because for that one there, obviously, like your big hitters, you need them to be really, really returning. You can't just have with your Saka at that price point. A goal a game is fine, but.
Well, there you go. I've done that. Points per million. So you've got points per million. 7. You've got players like Matoma with 80, March with 90, Martinelli with 98, and let's do Liverpool 84. So I mean, in terms of his value, Salah is the player that you would want even after missing a couple of penalties. It's just, how do you fit him into your team? It's incredibly difficult when you want Kane and Haaland still. So, yes, don't get me wrong.
Also, really quickly, you said, but we know Liverpool's potential. It's the 12th of April. When's this potential come in this season?
Yeah.
It happened against Man U, correct? It happened against Bournemouth, but he didn't even score against Bournemouth, did he?
No, that's true. Yeah, I remember that. That's when captain Haaland, and he got a hat-trick against Palace, didn't he? In the 3-2 win, and then everyone had Bournemouth for the 9-0. Salah captain, and he got no returns. It was very Havertz Salah from the season before, wasn't it? In terms of the players who have looked a little bit better in terms of expected goal involvements, it's the usual suspects. I mean, Darwin's up there. Trent again is 3rd in terms of expected goal involvements, expected points. He's expected 3rd behind Salah and Darwin. Darwin's just such a rotation risk, as you can see from the weekend. What I would say is that if you were looking at trying to do something a little bit different moving forward, to try and catch up in your mini league, or to try and be a bit different, because we don't need to spend a load of money at the back. I do agree with Scott. I mean, don't get me wrong, as much as Liverpool actually, in terms of numbers of clean sheets, have been okay, their expected goals conceded is 16th in the league since the World Cup. So they're outperforming that number. I do think that if you are chasing in your mini league, someone like Salah in for the remainder of the season, you could do a lot worse than that to try and catch up. But I don't know who else I'd invest in. I was trying to justify getting Trent Alexander-Arnold in this week. I was trying to justify it because I want to do something different in defence, and I'm just really struggling to justify it. But I want to do something different to catch up a little bit more. But anyway, there you go. So that's Liverpool focused on. Let's have a quick talk about. We won't talk about Leeds, because I think that just seems a little bit mean, because that Jekyll and Hyde performance was ridiculous. I think for like 35 minutes, they looked unbelievable. 40 minutes, maybe 35 minutes. I think they looked really good, actually. I was watching the game a little bit from afar. It was on in the background, but they looked like they were dominating the game pretty much, other than one chance for Palace. And then Palace just completely turned it around and absolutely battered them. Leeds just looked like they're like a Sunday League team in the second half. Did you watch the game, Scott?
By the way, I love that you started this sentence. We won't talk about Leeds. Now we're talking about Leeds.
Well, we're going to talk about Palace. We're going to talk about Palace. I promise. We're talking Palace are the assets we want to look at.
Well,
so
I was actually quite old school in this game because I was traveling back from seeing my family, so I listened to it on the radio actually. But yeah, they were, like you said, you battered them first half, and then they just Leeds. It was a bit of that goal just before halftime for Palace was key. It really changed sort of the halftime conversations there. And then Palace came out much, much better, got the early goal in the second half. And then Leeds just fell apart, I would say. What I would say about the Ellen Road crowd is they can help you, but they can certainly also hinder you.
Oh, yeah.
Especially when you're in a relegation fight. So, yeah, I honestly expect a massive bounce back on Monday. I think they beat Liverpool. I really do.
It's that's very Ellen Road. That'd be very Leeds as well to beat Liverpool. Leeds.
That place is going to be bouncing. And when was the last time they did the double over Liverpool in the league? So obviously they beat them at Anfield. So they'll be wanting to do that.
Very true. Palace-wise, Baz.
Yep.
Talk me through it. Where do you start? Have we got a nice little array of interesting assets now to look at?
I think so. Yeah. They just looked unplayable with Elise and Eze, and the old Swan Ayew actually getting involved as well. Usually you think he's a 2-3 pointer man, but he's actually did more than that.
He's a midfielder as well.
Exactly, yeah. And forwards wise, Edouard scored a good goal. It's like what Clinton Morrison was saying. He says, "Yeah, I expected him to miss," and then he puts it. Corner. And it's like, oh, right, okay, yeah. So yeah, it was one of them where they don't look prolific enough forward wise, but the midfield behind is just frightening. Elise, I think, how many assists did he get in that game? 3, was it? 4?
3, I think.
It's just and then he nearly did that solo goal at end, and I just thought, if he got that'd have capped off a great performance from him. But like I said, Elise, Eze, I probably wouldn't really go Ayew, but he's a potential option, especially when you can spend an extra 0.2 and get Eze or Elise.
Exactly. Unfortunately, you never get an Ayew because you get Eze or Elise for 0.2 more, even though that you've got to give him a shout out like you have done.
Yeah. Slup maybe comes off, but same again, 4.7. But Johnson played really well. He kept him in that game. If Johnson didn't do them saves, then Leeds could have been out of sight in the first half. And I think he's got some. He did really well. I think if you want a potential keeper coming in, I think Johnson at 4.4 looks really good.
For those of you who've got a wild card left, or potentially even people who have got Kepa and Steele as their keepers, and they've got no keeper in game week 32 and no one to free hit to, etc. When you look at Palace's fixtures for the rest of the season, they've got Southampton away, Everton at home, Wolves away, West Ham, Spurs, Bournemouth, Fulham, and Forest. They've only got Spurs away in game week 35. That's really like a bit of a worry. And if you've got, for example, Kepa to rotate him with, they play Bournemouth that week. So actually, what you're looking at here is Johnson. I mean, Guaita's out for the next 4 game weeks, but Johnson seems to have that. I think he'd have that place nailed down, really. So yeah, I think when you're looking at Sam Johnston as another keeper option, I think he seems to tick all of the boxes.
The only problem is Guaita's back in here 29th of April. But for a short term, I think it looks quite good.
Yeah, I think so too. We've Elise or Eze, Scott.
It's a tough one, isn't it? I've had Elise in our draft team most season, and obviously got rid of him at the wrong point for a change.
Shock.
I would
second, mate. Still second.
Yeah, I would just go Elise just because he's been in the team all season. I know Eze's in now because Zaha's out injured, but Elise just because he's been in the team, and like Baz says, I agree. He looked frightening, but if you wanted to do something a bit different, maybe get Eze in. But I'd just believe on Elise at the minute.
Yeah, I think Elise is playing a little bit wider, and it's going to reset for me here, isn't it? As well, of course it is. Elise has been playing a little bit wider, whereas Eze has been playing I suppose he's been playing on the other side, hasn't he? Oh, I thought he was playing a little bit more centrally than that. No, but still, I think what you're looking at there is a bit of a coin flip. But
he did play attack. He did play central against Leeds because Ayew played on the wing.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was looking at. I thought I expected to see him be a bit more central there. Expected goal involvements, though, Elise again slightly higher in terms of that, and he has got 3 assists. And as 3 goal involvements with both all assists, and Eze's got 1 goal and 1 assist in that time. It's a bit of a flip, but I also agree. I think Eze would be the player to go for.
I think if you're looking at as well for people that don't have 3 hits left, they play Everton in game week 32.
Yeah,
that's at home. That's a lovely fixture, isn't it?
100%. They're the sort of team as well where we were talking about this last week, weren't we, Baz? In terms of who do you go to if you've got Shaw? Who do you move to? Well, we'll wait. You give it that extra week. Do you move to Liverpool, or do you go for someone to free up a little bit more cash? I mean, someone like Anderson seems to be a threat from corners. Gahey obviously scored a goal. He was up there from set pieces as well. So they seem to be the centre backs. Mitchell at left back, Ward at right back. I'd be looking at the centre halves, I think, in terms of Gahey or Anderson. Anderson, over the course of the entire season, has shown a lot more potential for returns than Gahey. At least I'm just gonna double check my knowledge on that one to make sure I'm not giving people totally the wrong advice. But Gahey then obviously is the one who scored the goal. Let's have a look in terms of points scored. Gahey's outscored Anderson, but he's played 5 more games. XGI, yeah, Anderson at 4 compared to Gahey's 2.4. Yeah, so Anderson over the course of the whole season is the person who seems to be the one who's a little bit more there for a 0.1 more. But Gahey or Anderson, Baz? Go on. Who do you think? Who would you go for? Sure out, one of them in. No free hit 32.
I'd like to say Gahey because he's next one, but Anderson it is for me.
Yeah. Scott?
Gahey.
Love it. I love when you do that just for the sake of it. So we'll go. Brilliant. That's good to talk about. United battered Everton 2-0. We need to just keep an eye on Rashford for the press conferences because that could be quite an interesting development in terms of if he's injured or not. I wouldn't know who to look at for United assets moving forward. I mean, the move to Grealish is pretty easy, but also I think we need to maybe look at those Palace assets as well. Moving forward, they seem pretty obvious. Villa looking very, very good. 2-0 over Forest. Getting the passports ready was one of the lines I heard for potentially getting in for European football. Watkins looking great. Anybody else from Villa? Traore scored 2 and 2, I think that's right, isn't it?
Sorry. I don't know where my head's been. They're 6th in the league. When did Villa get 6?
Yeah, 6. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, they're 6th.
Oh,
didn't mention that on the radio, did they?
I've lost this bet to Jimmy. Jesus.
I mean, Traore did only play. Was it 5 minutes in the game?
He's gonna start because Bailey pulled up with an hamstring. The curse of injuries for my team. I'm not going to go there. Another player that I think is coming into form as well, Ramsey.
Yes, and we've seen his potential back end of last season, didn't we? As a player,
because I jumped on him pretty early before he obviously boomed, and it made great rewards for me. Hence the green hours last year, and I think I just finished just behind Scott from probably about where you are now, Alex. Obviously, when you started, obviously very, very low down,
buried deep.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but yeah, I think he looks good. Buendia as well. They're the other 2, but Chiori could be a good shout as well.
Yeah, Ramsey 1 goal and 2 assists in his last 4. 9, 6, 2 and 6. Those have been his returns. The fixtures are tough. I mean, they've got Newcastle and they've got Brentford away. They've got Fulham, but then they've got Man United, Wolves and Spurs and Liverpool, so Brighton. So the running isn't amazing. But yeah, just they seem to be doing really well though in terms of form. So can't ignore them. Newcastle continue to concede goals. I don't think they've kept. I think they've kept like 1 clean sheet or something. Just something ridiculous after having such an amazing defence. But they just leak 1 goal after 1 goal. I'll get the stats up in a minute. But playing Brentford there as well, they're looking very, very good. Fulham toothless without Mitrovic, which is relatively.
I don't know about that. I thought West Ham were quite lucky, to be honest.
What did you make of Fulham then? Do you think like Pereira, Vinicius?
They did miss obviously Mitrovic up front, but they still created quite a lot. But they just needed that goal scorer to get him in. I think Pereira had a good couple of chances, but I think obviously I'm probably looking at Pereira. But the only downside is, like you said, they're quite blunt up front when they haven't got Mitrovic. But I think West Ham was lucky to get that goal. To be fair,
yeah,
because Soufal obviously played a bit of volleyball, knocked it past someone, and then yeah, exactly, yeah. Played a bit of volleyball, and yeah, goal was given. Didn't go that far back, or it would have been ruled off.
Yeah. But my point is that I think they're not going to score that many goals Fulham without Mitrovic.
Defensively, though, I think they look good defensively. Like a Leno or Robinson might be a good shout for Fulham.
And you got love a Tim Ream shout. I've had him in draft and he's done quite well for me this season. Yeah, Newcastle 1 clean sheet in the last 7. That was the stat I was looking for, something along those lines. Anyway, I've just sort of done a rough guide on that. So people have been doubling up on Newcastle at back. It's not really been working. Pope obviously getting the points from the Tony penalty myth. Tony will get banned at some point. Scott, anything to add on these games, including the Leicester Bournemouth 1-0 over Leicester, before we get to the controversy in the Spurs Brighton?
Nothing really. I mean, that's a massive loss for Leicester. That's a game they just have to win. I can't believe Bournemouth won that game 1-0. I think it's ridiculous. And just James Maddison, 22, 23 EPL troll.
Yeah, he is. Absolutely. Spurs Brighton. So shouldn't this be 4-2 to Brighton?
I thought I was watching a basketball game, to be honest.
I love this.
How many handballs there were in that game?
I mean, the penalty's super obvious. I mean, they've got an apology for it. It was one of the most ridiculous. How's that not a penalty for Mitoma I've ever seen? But the 2 handballs, Baz. So what do you make of them? The disallowed goals.
I think I've always been a fan of having sleeves a different colour to your main front because of that incident there. Because I think it's hit Mitoma on the shoulder here. But obviously it looks like, because he's gone like that with his arm, it looks like he's gone like that and hit it with his bicep. That's one of where I think they need different colour sleeves. That just me being picky on that front. But the long lane one, I don't think it's an handball. He's trying to obviously feel where the attacker is. And it's hit his arm. It's just unlucky. I've seen him given, but I wouldn't have given it myself. And then the 2 obscene, the Højbjerg no enough stamp on Mitoma should have been given. And obviously the pullback on Burn from Longley. I think should have been 2 penalties. And then McAllister would have 2 penalties and probably an hat-trick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because McAllister. The McAllister, I know, I'm probably speaking for Scott as well. I think the McAllister handball hits his hip, I think, and it's just obviously where his hand's placed. It's close to his body. It's not really out, and he's done a Maradona and knocked it in. It's just hit his hip, and because his hand's quite close, and they think, oh, did it hit his elbow? Did it hit his hip? And that's where I'm going. Over to Scott.
Yeah, no, I think the Mitoma one and the Welbeck one should stand simply because, correct me if I'm wrong, they were given on field.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Exactly that.
And were they clear and obvious errors? No,
they
weren't,
not.
because we're debating them now. So they should stand. Like, it's ridiculous. If they were given his handball on the pitch, they shouldn't stand, because it goes back to giving the ref that responsibility still. They should. Horrible. How many? We've had VAR for years now, and honestly, it's like Dumb and Dumber in that VAR box. And you only have to watch Soccer Saturday to see Jeff Stelling and the other pundits' reactions, because Jeff Stelling's brilliant, because he'll just say it as it is, and I love that about Jeff Stelling. And he's just like, it's just a disgrace. And yeah, the one way stamped on him, genuinely. Were they looking at, like, were they watching like Peep Show or something totally different? Or were they watching a different game or an instant? Something must have technically gone wrong there.
I can't, like you say, I completely agree with everything you just said, Scott, because I just I can't understand how they've overturned the decisions. The on-field has to stand with the handball ones for me. And then, the penalty. Oh, my God. Just like, how have you not seen that? How? And the thing that frustrates me about this is that I'm pro VAR, actually. I think having the video assistant referee as part of the game has cleared up so many great things, moments that in terms of some obvious stuff that needs ruling out. Offsides, for an example, now we've sort of kind of got rid of the toe end stuff and the armpit bits. And it's actually been good, and I think it adds a bit of jeopardy to the game. But the way it's executed is just horrendous for the viewer, especially in stadium. And then
it takes too long.
Oh,
what was it? The Brentford game. It took about 3 or 5 minutes to analyse the penalty decision, where it shouldn't have been a penalty anyway. I don't think.
Yeah, just bonkers, isn't it? And then the person, because the thing is, it makes people go, "Oh, get rid of VAR. VAR's rubbish. What are we doing here? Let's make a decision." It's not. It's the Muppet who sat there and somehow not given that penalty to Matoma.
I think what they need is a referee and an ex player to make a decision.
It doesn't. Yeah, but it doesn't take an ex player to see that he's stamped on his foot.
I know that, but some of the decisions, I think it does take that, because Ali McCoist and Clinton Morrison and a few other the pundits are going, it doesn't take that long. It's a goal. Just give it. It's like, and they're going, oh well, we need to do this, we need to do that, and I'm like, you've drawn the lines. You can see it. See he's onside. Just give the goal.
Problem
they
is,
should have a countdown clock. 2 minutes. You ain't got a decision. It just stays on whatever on field it is.
It's isn't that just a clear and obvious?
Yeah,
like if it takes that long, it's not obvious, is it? Like it's just the execution of it for. But then embarrassing.
But then we go to a World Cup and we go to a Euros and we never talk about VAR because they nail it. Why can't we nail it in this country? The best league in the world. It's a disgrace.
Well, why have they only got one person doing it as well? I think that's the other thing. Like, have a couple of people in there, because surely between 3 of you, you're not going to go. Not stamped on him there, are they? Surely someone's going to go. Hang on. That looks like he's stamped on him. I don't, because I think the World Cup didn't have 3 people or 5 people or something stupid. They had a massive number of people looking at.
All I can imagine is the Pizza Hut order turned up at that point. They've all been distracted by who's paying the delivery man, and they've just ignored it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Oh, brilliant! Yeah, we all know how it is to order a takeaway as a group of lads, don't we? Yes. So, but absolute disaster there, isn't it? Moving on. Let's have a quick look at some more fixtures moving forward. I wanted to ask Baz and obviously Scott as well. Any other players that you've seen that you think could really help over the next 4 weeks? I know you'll probably look at a few more differentials, Baz, I'd have hoped.
Yeah.
What over the next few weeks? Any other players that we've potentially not mentioned that we might stick out to you?
He was actually on Paddy's bench, Billing.
Good old Philip.
He looks really good. I know we've been saying it for a while, going, "Oh, we weren't going to get him, not going to get him." But since we said that, he's done really well. His link-up play with Slanky as well, it looks really good as well. And I just think he's passing the eye test for me. And obviously he's a threat in the air as well. He's a big man. Compared to Andy Robertson, who's 5'10", who's apparently small. And I'm 5'10". Thanks, Scott. So yeah, it's as I mentioned, Ramsey as well looks good. Bit of differential. Also, another keeper as well, I think, who kept Man United at bay for so long is Pickford. I think looking at Everton's fixtures going forward after the Man United game, obviously the Man United game's gone.
Yeah.
Or no, it's not, because they're playing Man United again, aren't they?
No,
that's right. Yeah, we're at.
We're a graphic over. Sorry for YouTube watchers to confuse everyone. Yeah, game week 30 still.
Yeah, I was thinking, what? Yeah. So yeah, I think the fixtures going forward on that front. Fulham don't look like they're scoring without Mitrovic. Palace game, it's a bit tricky. Newcastle, we know what Newcastle can do. Leicester just crap at the moment, but maybe Dean Smith can turn that around for Leicester fans. But yeah, I think we've covered all the others. Leno, Robinson.
I like that though, Baz, because I think looking at the Everton fixtures for an example, there's probably might be 2 clean sheets in the next 4 there. And then when you look at Bournemouth's fixtures, Spurs away, Spurs aren't looking like keeping many clean sheets. Then they've got West Ham at home, Southampton away, and Leeds at home. So in the next 4, they've got some really good fixtures before Chelsea at home, Palace away, Man United at home. 3 really tough fixtures for Bournemouth, finishing off the season at Everton away. But in the next 4 game weeks, again, if you wanted to take that punt on someone like Billing, maybe even Neto as a goalkeeper. He seems like a good keeper. We can't ignore the fact that Bournemouth have won 3 of the last 5 games. They're on good form, and
the thing is that everyone's fighting for points at the moment. Everyone's got something to play for, and that what makes the league so exciting at the moment. Like you think, oh yeah, we're playing Bournemouth, easy win, but it's not. Liverpool probably thought that when they rocked up and lost. But it's one of them where no fixture is an easy fixture at this moment of time. So if you want to pick an obscure player from blooming Bournemouth or Fulham or Everton or someone's down there or fighting for that Europa League or Conference League place, then it just makes any decision a lot harder to pick your players. Put it that way.
There's loads of good value ones as well. Like, we're talking about Rashford replacements here in case he is injured, for an example. Or players you might want to bring in for March or Matoma this week to also play in game week 32 if you don't have a free hit left. Billing's done 3 double-digit returns in his last 6. He's gone 10-10, 1-2-2, 11. The man can deliver, and he did it earlier in the season as well, with some quite big returns earlier on, more like 7s and 8s and another 10. But if 5.2, and let's be honest, you can stick him on your bench if it all fails. It's not the end of the world. Scott, do you have any thoughts on any other players potentially we haven't mentioned already for moving forward for options?
No.
I like that. We've already been through a lot of them, but some of the key questions have been about Luke Shaw replacements, or who the hell do I bring in as a defender anyway? And yeah, I mean we've covered off certain assets there. I think someone like Palace, you could go a lot further wrong than go for someone like Crystal Palace. I do think if you want to take a punt and you are trying to catch up, you could do a lot worse than Liverpool. It's just so expensive. So yeah, they're just too expensive, really. But yes, we looked at Palace potentially as good differentials, maybe Fulham, etc. And maybe Everton, maybe Everton at home again versus Everton away are again at 2 totally different teams. And Rashford replacements, as we've covered off, some nice assets at Villa, some nice ones at Bournemouth. Obviously, we've all got the Brighton ones anyway. Some nice ones at Crystal Palace. If you can afford Salah, potentially get Salah. But those are the ones where you've got some really quite nice assets to be able to bring in as differentials. Let's look at your team, Baz. Team for the week. I'm going to get the fixtures up, and then we'll look at your team before we wrap up with captains and finish off. Game week 31 deadline is at 11 o'clock on Saturday the 15th, with the early kickoff of Villa against Newcastle. Destined to be a 0-0. Your team, Baz. Talk us through it for podcast listeners.
So I've gone for Pickford in goal, just because of the fact Fulham looked quite blunt up front. And obviously he did loads of saves against Man United. And then I've gone for Perisic in defence. I think he's obviously looks really good going forward. And obviously he's a good threat. And Bournemouth at home, you'd think it's a clean sheet, but as I'm contradicting myself there, nothing's an easy game. I've gone for Malacia as well. Forest, yes, it's a tricky game at Forest, but I think Man United need to start winning games more, like these type of games where there might be a little hiccup. And I thought putting him in there gives you attacking returns. Same with Mitchell. Southampton away, obviously very leaky. And I just think he got potential clean sheet opportunity there, and also attacking returns for a defender. Midfielders gone for Fernandes. Same again. He's one of them. He's like Marmite. He can either perform or he can push referees, whatever. Grealish, he's just in formidable form at the moment. You've got to potentially get him in your team. Easy as that. Elise, if he turns up as he did in the second half against Leeds, then he just looks undroppable as well. Salah is Salah at this moment of time. I think Leeds away, as Scott mentioned, it might be a bit of a bogey team for him, but I think I'm still going to put him in anyway, just for the fact it's
right. Well,
Salah.
they might still concede Leeds. Like, yeah, it just Scott was saying that Liverpool will concede.
And the forwards, Kane, Haaland, I think that's quite self-explanatory.
Obvious, yeah.
And I've gone for Martial. I just think he come on and looks good. Yes, obviously, if Rashford's fit, that's one reason why he's not in my team, because I'm unsure if he's going to be fit or not. But if he is, he'll probably just replace Bruno. But Martial and Rashford have got a good relationship going on, and I think by having him up front, it gives you that to run behind, where Weghorst doesn't. He's just a big lump. And then the bench is just a few free, simple, cheap options, and then Eze.
Yeah. It was this team. How much was this team? Because it seems quite expensive, but good.
Literally just on the nose, I think.
Which is really good. I mean, like you can say, if you can fit a team like with Salah, Haaland, and Kane in, and also still get Bruno. I mean, that's pretty good. Scott, thoughts on this? I mean, Perisic just got a goal and assist in his last three. I think he's probably the only player in here we've not mentioned in passing. Starting our thing.
Yeah, Perisic is always good attacking wise. You worry about that defense, but you would also think Bournemouth at home, even though they did obviously just beat Leicester, you'd expect potentially a clean sheet there. So I quite like that Perisic shout. The only thing about Perisic, you just sometimes get rotated a little bit. And he can get hooked before 60th minute. So, but yeah, he's always looking good attacking wise. I feel like he's going to get a red card at some point though.
I think he's got
red 290 shout again.
I love that Scott loves a red card shout. I think he's got 290 minutes in his last two games, but he did get hooked the game before that at 53 minutes. So yeah, exactly what you're saying, Scott. One of those players that's a bit different. The Martial shout I do like, because I think he'll probably start against Forest, and because I don't think Rashford will, even if he is fit, because we just need to wrap him in cotton wool. We've played every midweek basically since the World Cup, and we will play every midweek if we beat Sevilla all the way until the end of the season. It's the fixtures are pretty relentless, but amazing to still be in all competitions. I hate it when Ten Hag moans about the schedule. Just shut up, Ten Hag. Just use your squad, mate. Like, I mean, as a United fan, like, just why is Rashford still on the pitch then? Like, just get him off. Don't be an idiot. And I think the fact that he's then pulled his groin at that point, like, what Rashford's like. Wrap him in cotton wool. He's so important to it. Get him off earlier. It really annoys me that you're just blessed to be in all the competitions. And that's me slagging off my own manager, because I like Ten Hag this season. I think he's done amazing, but it really annoys me how he doesn't use his squad. I know we've had a lot of injuries, but whatever. Boring. Blessed to be in the competitions we're in. Captains, lads. Any obvious ones stand out to you?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Anyone but Haaland.
Well, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Grealish, definitely. I brought him in this week, and he hauled for me. He's absolutely one of their main men now. I think most people are going to go Haaland, but I don't think you be going too wild going Grealish.
Yeah, Kane maybe home to Bournemouth, always scores. Yeah. Small returns, but consistent returns for Kane all season. Anybody else stand out to you? I mean, obviously the Forest away is a tough game for Man United.
Not going to do it, but the form Watkins is against a leaky Newcastle at home. He's probably going to wait till the 95th minute for him to bag.
So lucky.
Yes, get it.
I know. I love that, because I had a captain as well.
Buzzing off.
Yeah, I think that might be the only other one, but anything but Haaland and Grealish, I think, or Kane, then I think you've got serious gambling problems.
Yeah. I mean, you just look at City last night, absolutely destroying Bayern Munich. I think, again, that just makes it even more nailed on that, Haaland starts, evening kickoff, against Leicester. If he starts, we did this before, didn't we? We had this debate. We didn't captain him against Southampton, and we didn't captain him against Southampton because we thought either he wouldn't start or he wouldn't get more than like 60, 70 minutes. He did get hooked, but he got enough time to get 2 goals. But he stayed on and he got 3 with a hat-trick. So he's just so explosive. I mean, yeah, like if you've got Grealish, then fine, you can always go with the captain option for him. But if I'm sat there and I'm Scott and I don't have Haaland yet, because you don't have Haaland yet, do you, Scott?
No, good times.
I mean, I'm taking a -40 game in this way. I just wouldn't.
Yeah, I am. It's by James Maddison, incoming Haaland. Yeah,
I like that as well. So for your we'll finish off with, obviously we need to name our differentials of the week, but just because I'm interested to know, Scott, from your perspective of your team, Maddison out.
Yeah.
Is it Tony out then?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's a tough one. I'd love to keep Tony in there, but like again, Watkins, like you said, he's got nice fixtures and okay fixtures, and yeah, I'm not dropping Kane.
I think that's the really tough thing, isn't it, between the two of them? Because actually, like Tony has the better fixtures, Wolves, Villa, Chelsea for it, but Tony, yeah,
the ban might come.
Maybe. Who knows?
That's the only issue with Tony. It's like, when's it dropping?
Yeah. I think you're basically, you're booking in a transfer further down the line, aren't you, maybe, Scott?
Yeah, I think I'm getting, again, Maddo out. I'm probably going to get Elise in. And then, Tony out for Haaland. I've got money to do that.
Yeah, I think this seem like really good, really good picks and really good options. Let's finish off with our differential of the week before we wrap up and say goodbye. Scott, have you managed to look through your phone yet?
Yeah, I've got a little differential. He might not even play.
Go on.
But I'm quite excited for it. My namesake, McTominay.
I love it. Absolutely love that shot. He will play because Casemiro is still suspended for another game. And
has he got 4 games?
I think, he's got 4 games. It's second red card, isn't it?
Oh, definitely McTominay then.
Yeah, I absolutely love that shout. I think he's on form at the moment as well, and that's kind of a bit annoying because I was thinking about him maybe as well, and I didn't really want to go Martial because I felt like it was just, but yeah, come back to me, Baz. I don't want to go him. Baz, who do you think?
Martial.
Yeah, of course you do.
It's either Martial or Elise or Eze for me.
Well, I just didn't want to go Elise because it seemed too obvious. So I was thinking about.
They're not obvious. Elise is only owned by 0.8%.
I know, but the transfer, that's very true, I suppose. But yeah, maybe because we're talking about him so much and it seems straightforward to us. I'm going to go with Jordan Ayew.
Ooh.
Who's him? The other annoying thing, Mahrez is just so obvious to me to go with for a differential this week. And I'm like, do I really go for 4.6% own Mahrez at Leicester at home? Yeah, probably should.
What are you doing there? Come on. Get him out, mate. What are you doing?
I just don't know Mahrez.
Mahrez.
Go on then. Mahrez, we've got Mahrez, Martial, and Scott McTominay.
I say you're winning the weekly ones anyway, so
yeah.
Can I just say something? Are we doing a thing now every week where we've got to go for the same letters?
Yeah, I know we've done. Yeah, that's mad, isn't it? We've done that. Can't believe that we've done that before a few times, haven't we? So yes, to wrap up, deadline 11 o'clock Saturday. I hope we've covered off everything you want to talk about. And thanks, Dave Byrne, for your question. Yes, you are top of the league, and congratulations. But the season is not over yet, and we've got the man who's chasing you right here. So, but don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and the video, of course, on YouTube. Subscribe to where you get your podcasts from. Give us a rating, 5 stars. Do it on Spotify or Amazon Podcasts and Apple Podcasts as well. And then follow us on social media, All But Pod, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. And thanks everyone so much as well for commenting and interacting with a couple of the reels I've put up recently on Instagram. Just a few different opinions that have been on there, and thought they've been quite fun. Thanks so much for joining us, Baz. Thank you.
Thank you,
Scott. Thank you, even though I can't see your face.
Thank you.
And goodbye for now.